Well, hey everyone, and welcome to today's Articulate Training webinar. Today we're looking at what's new in Articulate 360. Actually, I should have had a Q3 little note on there. This is for the third quarter, so all the features we've released over the past 3 months. So we'll look at what's happening in Storyline, Reach, and Rise, give you an idea of what's available. Sometimes these things are just dropping and you miss them, so that's what this session's all about. This is going to be a quick one. It's only about 30 minutes. I just want to make sure you know really what's available to you in your favorite apps for Articulate 360. A couple things before we get started. I know we're actually on Zoom, and we don't usually have issues on Zoom. I just realized that as soon as I started this screen. But we do have resources, and we'll have an on-demand available recording of this sent out to you tomorrow. This is the first time, obviously, we're doing this, so you'll get an email with the resources. And then I've got looks like I have two folks helping me out. So I have two folks helping me out in the back channel. They'll be able to answer any of your questions over the next 30 minutes. And if for any reason we don't get to your questions, this is a large group, just jump into eLearning Heroes and we'll be able to help you out there. Number 3, honestly, I don't think that's going to happen with Zoom. We tend to see it with the other app, with GoToWebinar, but not so much with Zoom. But I guess if you have any problems, you can try logging out or in again. But like I say, we shouldn't expect any problems there. And we always review the video session before we get in there. All right. Pretty straightforward. Oh, this is me, Dave Anderson. If you want to get in touch with me, whether that's X or LinkedIn or sending me a note, that's my Doberman puppy, Max. And then finally, we're just going to look at Storyline, Rise, and Reach updates for today. So let's do this. I'm just going to jump into the Storyline to get started. Let me do this just a second. All right, so let me switch over here to Storyline. We'll start with Storyline. A couple of these are okay. So first up, we'll look at the enhanced word publishing. Not a lot to show. It's probably a little bit more about just talking about what it is. We now updated Word with enhanced security and publishing. So when you publish a course, if I came in here, it now supports the DOCX format. So we don't really see that here. You just see that when you publish your Word. You see that from just publishing down here. You'll see the Word. But this now publishes with the DocX, which is a couple benefits to that for you. First off, it's a smaller file size. So it's if you compare what the doc was or previous storyboards to what you're creating now, you can see the file size is much smaller, which makes it really easy to email or send out to your users. But then there's also better security that's built in to this. What's also nice is you can even publish to Word and not even have Microsoft Word installed on your computer. So not a lot to show, just if you publish to Word and you take advantage of using the Word docs and it is a storyboard, you can now share that with your stakeholders or other content folks that you have that offline digital version of your project. I don't know. I'm kind of curious if you, really quick, just while we're on this one, before I go to the next, if you are using the Word format, do you use that? How many of you folks are using that, either for screenshots or including the slide letters and the notes? But it used to be really great for offline. Now a lot of folks kind of moved over to Review 360 for it. Personally, I still like to use it. I tend to use the medium-size screenshot. Just I don't need the screenshot as much, but I do like to write with pencil on the printout. So I'm still someone who likes to work with paper. All right, we'll see. Okay, some of you are still into that. Okay, so with that, that's really all we need to show there. Let's take a look at our next update here in Storyline. All right, so next up is the screen reader support for tables. We have enhanced table accessibility built in for screen reader support in Storyline. So let's do this. I'm going to pull open the focus order and just talk a little bit about what's happening here. So I did create a custom focus order. You could switch to the default or custom, but essentially the screen readers will now not only navigate these tables that are published with Storyline, but it's also going to know not what's in the table, but also how the content's located. So that's the addition of column and row announcements. And so we have the ability to really make this more accessible and really better support for screen readers as they go through these. So the text is all being read here. So we do have a table, alt text for the table, just to identify it. But once we get into each of these columns, that product name is being read automatically. I'm just adding column header extra to each of those alt text just for additional clarity. but the text is still going to be announced. But by adding the column header, then we can really identify that that is a header and a column versus just the content within the cells. So we can actually identify where each of these are, make that left to right, and then we'll come right back down and go top to bottom for that order. So there's additional support for the common shortcuts that are used for making tables accessible within the screen reader apps to make that even more intuitive. So that's a really big update. So if you're working with any tables, I'd say revisit those and take a look at the focus order now for them and make any updates that you need to just to make that more readable and intuitive for your learners. Just do a quick save here just to make sure everything's going all right. All right, next up, let's take a look at the player text label languages. So this is really nice. We've updated the text label languages for Storyline. So you have 45 new languages for player text. You'll find those from the Home tab, and then just open up that player tab for it, and you pull those open. And then you'll see right up here for text labels. So you'll see that you have all these new languages in here. You can customize them. I'm just working with the default English. And then if you want to create any custom languages, you can save each of those. So let's say I wanted to create a custom version of English. Before I would do anything, I would click Save, and it's going to ask me where to save it. I'd make this a new one, like David Custom, or English. It could be David English Custom or something. You just give it a separate name, click Save. And your language is up here under the custom options, which means if you make any modifications to any of these, maybe you want to call this progress or progress learner progress, or you want to customize any of the text labels, you can do that. But the big win here is the addition of 45 new languages. So we actually have a total of 45 languages that you can work with now in Storyline. So that is a huge update for folks who are publishing multiple types of courses. All right, we are just moving through this. Let's get out of here. All right, so the next one is, you probably have seen this if you're working with any slide layouts or slide masters or layout masters within the slide layers, but you now have some options for adding media library, content library, and media library options to your slide and feedback layouts. So before we had pictures and content. So you now can insert more than just file, but we also have the insert AI image. So if you wanted to generate an AI image, you could do that right here. Say e-learning application. I don't know. We'll just get something random here and see what we come up with. So I can add the AI images from to my masters, which is a really big help. Look at all that. Probably shouldn't have typed in e-learning. Let's just say training. But having that there means that you don't have to then reposition your images from media library or content library on the slides. That's kind of nice, right? So there's the image. If I were to get rid of that, I could also pull an image in here from media library. So that's probably been one of the biggest misses we've had for a while, is not having access directly to the images that we've already imported into media library. But instead now we have anything in here that we can add and bring that directly into our slide, and just ensure that you have that overall consistency in the layout. Just looking at the comments real quick. Yeah, so it's the same for slide layers. I don't know if I have a slide layer layout. So for slide layers, whether this is you're doing it in a quiz or you're doing it just as a content piece, maybe you're adding something here. Let's see, we'll go to View and then Feedback Master. So I don't have one here. So that's fine. Just use a blank slide and let's say insert a picture layout. Maybe just put it right there just so we can see it. So I had to add an actual picture placeholder layout, and you can see the placeholders are right there. So the way we get to those for the slide layers is we need to add a feedback master. So the difference is slide masters are going to work for your main slide, and then your feedback masters are what you're seeing for your slide layers. So I do need to take this layer and apply a different layout to it. So I can do that from the Home tab, apply layout, and now I'm only seeing the layouts for the slide. And I think that blank one is the one I just did. And then so you can see right here that I can pull up one of those placeholder images that I added and then drop that in there. So anyway, that's just how you can set those up. I'll get rid of that layer just to be safe. Yep, goodbye. So another production efficiency. Again, just makes it going to make easier working. Reason this is kind of a big deal for a lot of folks is a lot of will work with media library by going to View and then media library, and then importing all of your images up at once. So that makes a really big difference by just loading up your media library first, and then you have your assets ready and you can drop those into your course a lot faster. I'm a big proponent of feedback and slide masters and working like that. Wait a minute, why didn't that delete? There we go. And having placeholders means you're just going to be able to guarantee the picture placeholder, the image placement is going to be a lot more consistent. So let's say if I did this real quick, and the reason being is if that gets nudged off to the side, which things get nudged all the time, who knows, and you knew that was off, you could just right click anywhere on the slide and then choose reset slide, and that's going to pop right back into place. So that's a huge win. If you're not using slide layouts for images and text, I have one right here as well, right? You're going to want to get more comfortable with using those, because that's just going to make it easier for controlling the placement of your objects. Okay, lastly, let's jump into this last one, and just an alt text tip. Hopefully you've seen this, because it means you've been adding alt text to your images when necessary. But if you add any alt text to your images, we have a little tip added here. So I can just right click this image and choose accessibility. And that pulls open my accessibility window tab here. And you can see a little tip right here, just says limit alt text to a minimum of 150 characters. And as you start to type, right, limit alt text to characters and keep typing, right? So you see a little character count right here that lets you know what you're looking at for just ensuring that those characters are being within that limit. I'm not going to apply that to all, but again, just a good reminder, and you'll start to see some things coming out from us a little bit later in the year, if not next year, that'll help even guide you to creating more accessible courses. But this right now is a great start for anyone trying to work with accessibility and making their courses just more inclusive, adding the text, alt text to your images, and then using the guidance for keeping that character count under 150 characters. I want to say, I'm going to copy and paste. I want to say that if you keep doing this, it's not going to stop you from going. Yeah, so you can still go over. It's going to tell you that, but you're not going to get an alert. At least not yet, but that just tells you that you do need to reduce those, but it's not going to prevent you from keeping those longer. All right, so that's just a big enhancement there from another accessibility update for Storyline. All right, so now I'm going to pop into Rise. We'll look at some Rise goodies that have recently dropped. And this first one I think you're going to really like if you haven't already been playing with it, and that is Snapshots. So Snapshots they're like versioning in Rise, but we're not calling it versioning. But essentially you can create backups of moments in time in your development process to save and restore your work from an earlier time. So it's not happening automatic. You're going to create those snapshots. You're going to tell Rise when you want to make that happen. You'll see up here in the top. You'll see up here is the snapshots option, and it still is in beta. And what we're doing is you can now just create a snapshot. So I've been working with them for a little while now. You can see how far back this one's going. Now, wasn't very good at giving this a name. So you can see most of these are just snapshot 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I can go off of the dates. So the dates is giving me something to look at right here, and I can, pop, if I preview this, I can kind of see what this looks like and go through everything. And then, if I want to restore this, I can. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to come back up here to the current version. Now you get a couple other options in here that you can look at. So there's some icons right here indicating, and I don't know why I just published this as a PDF, but it looks like I might have done it twice. I didn't think I published it twice, but you'll see a different icon in here for the PDF, and then the little dots are the snapshots, and then here's one where I made a specific notation for placeholders. You can see that I wanted to really make a note about what that's about. So I could create I can't create another one. I've got to actually make a change here. So let's say edit, and I'll just say, I don't know, let's just delete everything in here, and then I'll delete it, and now I'll save this as a snapshot, and I'll give it a name, and I'll say testing, delete and revert, because I want to give this to make sure I don't lose my description there. But now this is my current version, and if I wanted to preview things here, you can see testing, delete and revert. But this previous example I can preview, and this has what I had earlier, and I should see my description in there, and I'm going to say restore this snapshot. So this will now become my current. So it works like you would expect a versioning to. When you're starting to work on larger projects though, when there's a lot of content in your project, One thing you want to do is probably give these a little bit more meaningful names as you start to work with them. Because I reverted to an earlier version, this other one is still in here. And what I'd probably do then is come in here and I'm going to either rename it or I think just delete it. I don't want to restore this one because I was just messing around. So I'll say delete. And are you sure this action will delete the snapshot, or do you want to do it? And then it's gone. So you can use these in a meaningful way. What I've been doing for the projects I'm working on, unless I do something specific, like I created some before and after examples, I'm just creating snapshot 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm just going off of the date for managing those. Now, I was trying to find one. I think we just released this later after I was hoping that we had this with our Articulate User Day, where we had everyone adding some examples. Actually, let me do this real quick. Hold on one second. I'm going to pause. No, I thought we must have done it, release snapshots later. We just had the Articulate User Conference last couple of weeks ago, and I thought I'd be able to show you all the different folks that were in there. But what you'll see is you can see who's made the changes. Looks like I'm the only one doing snapshots here. I probably should have checked that out. I would have saved that, and you could see 20 different people making changes to this document as we went along. So I should have thought about that a little bit earlier. But it shows that I'm the one and tells you who the last person is that created the snapshot. So what you would maybe do here in this example is if you made your last snapshot, and then a collaborator on your team went back and started editing and making those changes, then you have that milestone. When that collaborator creates the snapshot, you'll have the name to know who was the last person who touched the file. You could have that conversation with them to know, what happened, what did you do, or just a way to let you track multiple collaborators and know what they've been working on or what changes they've made. Knowing that you could always go back to a previous version of that course. But really big feature, because it's not a versioning, because it's not automatic, there's no automatic saving. It's not saving as every time you create a new lesson or a new block. What you're going to need to do is have some sort of dedicated or deliberate or intentional plan around how often you create snapshots. You don't need to create them every time you create a new block, most likely. Maybe as you get a little bit closer to publish time, as you get closer to the go live time, when things become more important, that might be when you want to save more frequently just to be certain. But at some point, having a schedule, having a plan around how often you'll save them, and then you always come in here and you can really just start deleting older ones. That you don't need as a way to just kind of manage and clean up your snapshots. So 10:30, this is certainly long enough. It's quite a while away, so you can manage it that way. But snapshots, if you're not using these, check this out. Again, like I would have probably liked to have saved a few more on the Articulate user group just to have them in there. But so you can see all the different names, which would be kind of neat when you have 20 people working on it. But let us know what you think with that. It's still in beta, so there's some updates that could happen and enhancements. But it's not automatic, so you have to get in there and make those own changes for them. I'll just tell you one way that I think I'm going to be using them from a training perspective is it's fantastic for using before and after. So if I wanted to make a bunch of changes or have some things staged right here, I'd like to come in and make these changes and all right, let's show how to fill in our description or our learning objectives, right? This could be my starting file, and then I would just revert to that previous version and say, no, let's just restore that version and delete the draft or something like that, and you have it. So a couple of ideas for how you can get in there and make those changes with the snapshot. Well, actually, before I go, let's just restore, and I'll say restore, and that'll give it back the way you have it. Now the next up is quizzes. So let's just come in here and let's just add I'm going to come in and just add a quiz for a section right here. So just this quick session. I don't think I have a quiz set up, but we have timed quizzes now in Rise. So let me do this real quick. I'll just say I need a quiz really quickly to add one. So we can come in here and add a knowledge check. Actually, it's not a quiz. It needs to be a quiz. Sorry. Can we get out of here? And we'll come back in. And this time we'll say AI Assistant, and we'll generate a quick quiz here for us and create a quiz without customization. And I'm just going to say go ahead. So let this do its thing for a second. And then what we'll do is we're going to pop open our quiz settings, and that's where we can go up and make those changes and add the timer. So anyway, if you haven't seen how you can generate quizzes, this is how you can use AI Assistant to do that. It's just going through the content to create a final quiz here for me. So let's just give this a second here. Right, so I probably could have gotten a shorter course, but what we'll be able to do is, if you're working with timing, and again, I should probably just always mention that when we have timings or timers on quizzes, there are some accessibility concerns, and you're only going to want to use those when maybe there is a compliance or regulatory guideline for a time requirement. All right, so I'm going to open up the content here for the quizzes, and we'll find the quiz settings up here in the top right. Just click the gear setting right there. There we go. And we have the passing score. We have things like require passing score to continue, the quiz retries, and then of course the timer right here below. So if I enable the timer, you can specify a specific duration, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long you're going to give. And then what is it you want to display for the learner, right? We could show how much time has elapsed or remaining, elapsed at a total, or even hide the timer altogether for the learner. So that's a timer option. That's something that folks have been asking for a while. So again, just basic guidance on the timer. If it's not required for any type of compliance or certification type purposes, probably not the best idea to include that, but it is available now. Just add it here in the quiz settings. It's not going to be found in the published settings. It's in the quiz specific settings. So wherever you are for the quiz, that's where that quiz setting is going to be added. So that's another update here that's available to you directly in Rise. Okay, so next up is Rise heading level controls. Let me pull open an example here. What's really nice here is we now have an ability to increase screen reader navigation and readability by adding headings directly in the text. So let me just do this real quick. So here's an example. I think I used this in a quick tips recently, but it's a big block of text. Now, even if we were to come in here and let's say, I'll just duplicate it real quick, and we came in and let's say we wanted to make this maybe a little bit more readable with some headings, right? We could come in here and I might say, okay, the multimedia, right? The multimedia, right? If we're talking about this block of text, what we've seen users do before was maybe do something like bold the text and then, dial up that text heading size really, really large to make that visually act like a header, but that's really not being treated as a heading from screen readers. It's not a true heading. It's really just text. Same text as paragraph text, same as this text, just happens to be bigger text. So what we now have is this option for creating headings directly in the text. So I'll show you something that's kind of neat. It's a little off script, but it's an AI Assistant feature. And that is, let's just take AI Assistant right here and ask AI Assistant to please, I always say please, group and chunk this content into sections. And include headings, include relevant headings. Again, this prompt is it's not a literal. You could probably write this 10 different ways and it'd be fine. But what I want to do is show you something that we now can add text headings directly into our blocks. So I'm going to say insert below. And so here are the headings. Now, even though I generated this with AI Assistant, here's what's really neat. Right down here under the paragraph format, you can see that we're using heading 2. So even if I hadn't had AI Assistant generate this for me and this was just a normal text like I showed with the multimedia, I could select this, I'm sorry, not AI Assistant, select the text, and under paragraph, make that a heading 2 or a heading 3, whatever you want to use. But now these are all being identified as true headings with screen readers. So they'll announce these as headings. You pop open NVDA and you could list all the headings on the page, and that's going to enable users to really navigate and jump down to those specific blocks of text with each of those headings. It'll list all the headings on the document. So the big win here is that we were able to stay within one paragraph, one block of text. Before, we'd have to select these, create a new text block with a heading for each one of those, right? That would be a lot of extra blocks, and sometimes that's just a little bit more work to go in and manage that. So being able to have, if you're listing just nothing but text, you can keep that all in line now and use headings directly within that same single paragraph block of text by just selecting the text you want to use. Again, here's that multimedia. I don't know if this is going to be a relevant heading, but we could say multimedia and select it and just make that a heading 2 or maybe a heading 3, but that's a true heading that's recognized as H3 right here. So big update there for just making your courses even more accessible and inclusive for your learners. All right, so lastly, we have just an update to how you can work with your courses in Rise. So let me do this. I'll pop back into my dashboard, and maybe you've seen this, so if you played with it, it's been out a little while now, but it makes working with courses just considerably easier, especially when you're trying to move large blocks of content around. So let's come back in here to my dashboard, and let's see what I have here. I'm searching for something. No wonder that's not. Where is everything else? All right, so I'm going to just minimize the team stuff here just to do that. And what I'll see here is the different folders that I have right here. So what I can do is, I guess private can be in there. So I can actually now come in and start to select multiple versions of these courses. First off, I can drag and drop them, right? If I wanted to maybe make my own folder, I'll say new folder, and we'll call it David. Save that, and now I have a new folder up here, should be at the top, and then I can select my course, select it, and just start dragging these into move to private. Moving this is private, we'll remove any shared connections. That's fine, I don't believe it should be, it's not a public course anyway. Let's say anyone owned by me. I just want to make sure I'm moving the right ones. I know this one's going to be fine. David. So that one might have been shared. That's interesting. So I now can just click and drag each of these into my own folder. So I guess the other one must have been saved right there. So I can now sort quickly, jump into my David folder, and now I have access quickly here to all of the courses in here. Now what's nice is if I hover over, I can see a little checkbox right up here, and with this I can do things like move the folder or delete it. So if I came with all these folders right here, I'm selecting them, each one of these. I could delete all of those, which I do not want to do, or I could make those moves because it's out of that all content. I could choose to move that into maybe a private or move it to 23 user event translations or something like that. But I now can move all of these folders at one time rather than having to continue to going one by one with each of those. So selecting all of these and being able to move them. Notice how I can also click and drag all three of these, and maybe I just move it over into the user event. So now they've all gone, and I come into my user event, and now all of my folders are right here. So again, just easier way to work. Is it the biggest update? No, but does it make it super easy, and does it save you a ton of time? Yeah, it really does, because you can just make moving those courses around and moving the content around a lot faster now. So I consider this a huge production efficiency, especially, I'm not building a lot of client courses anymore, but I am working with a lot of demos and a lot of project courses, and I have several hundred already. So just being able to move those quickly around is a huge time saver. Okay, so let's move over to Reach real quick. Just curious while I'm pulling this up, how many of you are using Reach? How many of you are actively using Reach or trialing? Just curious what that is right here. Go ahead and just answer that. I know my moderators can help out or respond to any questions on that, but I'm just kind of curious. There's a really large group, so I'm kind of just curious who here is actually using Reach. I absolutely love Reach. I think it's one of the cleanest LMSs that I've ever worked with. But two updates we have here is around learners and personalizing email content for learners. So I'm here in the Manage. I'm logged in as an admin right here in Reach. And what I want to do is I'm going to click in the Manage tab, and then I want to open up my settings because I want to look at what I can do for my emails. Now, because I'm an admin, I have access to the Setting tab here. And I see right down here, there's the account, but I also have learner notifications. And we can now add personalized notifications beyond the default welcome email. So welcome email, we can personalize. You can see, you can send a preview that'll just email me a preview of that. We can edit the content here for the welcome email. So this is the general email that is sent out when someone comes and registers you register them or they register for your account, and they have to invite and sign up for Reach. So you could change this any way you like. But we can now add, which is even better, I think probably more meaningful, are those ongoing emails that you're sending as reminders. So when training is assigned to someone, we can then edit that content. So this is what it looks like by default. We go, congrats, you have new training. And it's pulling in the course name right here, the course name. You could personalize the learner body, the email body. You can see the learner name right there. but this is all personalizable. And if you hose it or mess it up, right, just you get in there, you can always reset it up here in the top. So you can just always bring it back to the default welcome or notifications. Now, you can also add some additional variables down here. You can see the learner name, course name, and the due date. And then the multi-language support is supporting any of their preferred languages. So that's awesome. And if you haven't played around with these, you can just send yourself a preview real quick for the courses, learning paths, or for both. Get an email, see what those look like, and then you can see how you may want to modify those. You can also modify when due date is approaching and when due date is past. I can confirm that this works just fine because I received a few in the last couple of weeks for email notifications that I had not completed a course, which I thought I had. Honestly, in all fairness, I really did think I had completed it. But you can also customize the nudges that you want to send your learners, but you can also send past due notifications. You can make this gentle, or you can make it a stern reminder or notification. But that's a really big update for just personalizing more than that initial welcome email that your learners see when they're first coming into your reach. All right, lastly, let's do this. I'm going to go to my profile, so I guess it doesn't matter where I go, because I'm going to come up here in the top right, and I just want to pop open my profile here. So profile. And so we now can change, we can change the preferred language to make this more personal here in Reach. So under preferred language, you can come in here and we can say, oh, maybe I want to change it to Spanish. It's going to make me update. Let me refresh this. I should have already added all those. So let's see here. Okay. So once all these are filled in, the department, job, training, you can change your language. I can come in here and say, let's make that Spanish. And that's going to localize my UI here in Reach. And you can see Explore la Biblioteca. And I can now come through and see that Reach has been converted or translated into Spanish. So just another way to make this UI here in Reach, the Reach experience, the learning experience, more inclusive. I'm going to probably change it back. I can need to do it from my profile. Let's get back over here and make that. I don't want to go too far away, but that's how you can make that, personalize that for each learner to have their Reach UI translated. All right, so that is awesome. I think that is it for today's session. I want to thank you all so much for joining. The recording for this is going to go out tomorrow. I may want to make a couple updates. I know there was a lot of noise here, and hopefully it didn't come through as much. Doing this from my hotel room, sometimes they can be a little bit noisy, but at least it seemed like it was for me. Hopefully it wasn't too bad for you. If it was, I really apologize, but I'm going to review the recording just to make sure that everything is clean before we send it out tomorrow morning. Thanks to my moderators. Really appreciate your help it's this evening for me, morning for you. Today, thank you for your help today. And again, thanks for joining today. Hope you all enjoyed these features. If you have any questions about this, you saw something, please pop into eLearning Heroes. Just jump in the forums, drop us a note, say, hey, what about this? This is a high-level overview of everything. Really wasn't designed to be full training on everything, but just a way to give you an idea of what's coming, what's available, what's been released, and then from there we can explore more about helping you get the most value out of each of those features or updates. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and see you soon. Thanks.